Hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We are
Don't Mess with the Mamas. MOMMAS with our motto.
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
And you are?
I'm Carla.
I'm Arlena. And we are on season 2, episode 8. And this episode is called The Comparison Trap because when you compare, you suffer, suffer, suffer. But first, we have to give a little song. Thank you, Tina Turner, who is also a wonderful, wonderful former member. Of course, she passed away, but she practiced Nam-myoho Renge Kyo.
That's right.
And transformed her life. But we're just going to give you one line, okay?
Yeah,
Because we
okay.
like to start off with a song.
Okay.
You're simply the best, better than all the rest. So that's how you should think of yourself, right? You're simply the best. You're better than all the rest, but not to have to compare. Better than you were yesterday.
That's right.
So what's really important is that if you keep on comparing, sorry, I'm trying to look at the word, there's an infinite goalpost. There's never an end to it, right?
That's right.
And why do you need to be better than this person? Why do you need to be worse than this person? Why don't you just base your life on who you were? If you're living in that comparison zone, your cortisol levels are heightened, you're always feeling anxious, you're always beating yourself up, right? You're doing weird stuff with your body, trying to chisel yourself into looking beautiful. Is that your happiness? Are you happier once you do all that? So that's a big, big question. And I know for me, it's a weird thing.
Okay.
But because I'm getting older and older, I've always done this. I've always asked people's ages. And then I got married late in life, so I was thinking, so I would compare myself to, how old is this person? Or if this person passed away, how old were they when they passed away? Or how old were they when they got married? Always doing that. And it's stupid. I know it's stupid. It's almost like an obsessive compulsive thing.
Right.
And I know it is, but it's just that tendency. And it comes from somewhere, which is really interesting. And I know you've studied that a lot. The concept of the ancient brain or the reptilian brain,
Yes,
right?
yes.
This is interesting. So hear what Carla has to say.
Well, according to my research, the ancient brain, it was for survival. People lived in groups of, say, 50 to 150, and they had to survive. But it was based on the tribe, okay? You had to measure up with the tribe, okay? If you were too slow, then that means that you could be lunch for a lion, okay? Or if you were too slow to get to the food that was being served, you were too slow. You would starve. And then, were you a liability to the group? You had to be able to keep up and maintain. So that ancient brain has come all the way down to now. We're always comparing, but that's based on ancient way of survival. That the ancient brain wants to make you safe and secure and that you live. And the first thing is the law of preservation. But now it's totally different. We don't have to worry about lions, tigers, and bears unless you're hanging out in the woods. Okay, so now we're comparing ourselves to everybody who's on internet, who's on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all these images of people doing fantastic things. And then you're thinking, well, I'm not doing that. I don't measure up, and it goes into everything, your relationships with people, your love life, your status in the society. Are you making the grade? If you're not making the grade, then you're getting left behind, the clique, all these different things,
And a lot of times people attach themselves to something that's so unhealthy because of the need to, belong and to know that they're okay. So, there have been lots of cases where, especially young people who are still trying to figure themselves out,
Yes.
they attach themselves to a group for survival, as you were just saying.
Right, right.
And sometimes that group is a really dangerous group and doesn't have any value whatsoever. And I know a long time ago, there was this like group of girls in Japan. They formed like a suicide pact, but the desire to feel like you're part of thing or belong or that you're normal, whatever that is. And I know when I taught psychology, we would always try to figure out what is normal, and there is no such thing. But the need to feel you are okay is so prevalent. And who cares? Basically, when you think about it, you want to compare yourself to where you were and how you're advancing. All the comparison in the world, you can look at the most beautiful person in the world, the skinniest, the this, the richest, the that. It doesn't change your situation one bit. As much as you could compare, you could like pine over the fact that your next door neighbor has all this fortune. And then when you wake up in the morning, after you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning,
You're still you.
you're still you. So how are you going to grow? How are you going to develop? There's this concept, and it's an interesting concept because so many people are guilty of this. It's Schadenfreude, and that means you take joy in another person's suffering.
Yes.
You're comparing yourself. And it's not so much conscious. It's not like you're an evil person necessarily, but you feel better about yourself.
Right.
But, I know like one of my friends, I'm not friends with this person anymore, but this person had a lot and still does have a lot of fortune, good looking, beautiful children, successful marriage, successful business, but always took joy in, lording it over somebody else who has, less. And that need, that desire really shows that person, no matter how much external they have, is really, there's something really missing inside, right? And we know so many people who take tremendous joy in that and putting people down, but what is their life going through, no matter what they seem to have. So, no matter what you see on social media, as you said, doesn't mean a lick, doesn't mean that that person, that influencer, whoever they are they really leading a value creating life? Are they really appreciating their life? If you're always comparing, you have no appreciation for your own life
you
or
have.
what you have or the lives of others. There are so many people who have tremendous wealth and are miserable. My joke is if you're a butthole before money, you're probably a much
BBF
bigger
the
one.
same-
Yeah.
same.
So what do you want to add to that?
I think the other thing is that we can't change the wiring, all right? That's hardwired in there, okay? But you can retrain it. You can retrain it. When you feel yourself starting to do that comparison, step back for a second. And they suggest that we either look at a documentary, read a long article, just something to break it, There's pizza all over the world, okay? Pizza. You can get pizza any place, okay? But if you're just looking at a plate with a slice on it, you think that that's the only pizza in the world, and it's not. It's not. So you can't compare yourself to the point where you get crazy, So they suggest those sort of things. Also, if you're scrolling and you come across something and it brings up that feeling in your life, just write it down. When you felt it, what you were doing, what were you looking at, and then just, judge and gauge yourself like, well, okay, this is what happens when I do this. I can do something different. The other thing that they mentioned,
I think she's talking about AI.
AI, yeah,
What she
AI.
thinks about it.
AI.
She's a big AI proponent.
I love AI. I mean, it just gives me so many things. They have this thing about there's the hero, victim, and villain. Okay, the hero is a person who says, what can I learn from this situation? Okay. The victim is when we're starting to feel inferior. Okay. And then the villain is really looking down on others. So if you feel like you're looking down on others, just pull yourself out. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to change my mind about that.
And if you're looking down on others, that means that's how you feel about yourself. That's such a reflection about, your own attitude. And today I found out some really good news about my great nephew. He's doing amazing things. He's got a podcast and he's going like, whoa, he's going to do an Amazon Prime show. And, I think some people would feel jealous. I just felt so celebratory. I said, wow, good for you. Why not? That is wonderful. So celebrate other people's successes. If you can do that,
Right.
then you can really celebrate your own success. But if you can't celebrate others, then you can never celebrate yourself because you're always feeling, not enough, not enough. And society does that. Absolutely. Society tries to make you feel that way. So don't give in to that crapola. You are perfect as you are. I don't care if you weigh 600 pounds. I don't care if you weigh 100 pounds. I don't care if you're the most beautiful, the ugly. It doesn't matter. Just celebrate who you are. You were born in this world for a reason. You have a wonderful mission and you are unique. So use that, whatever it is, use your uniqueness and forget about comparing yourself because there'll always be somebody with more or somebody with less.
Less.
And so what? So what?
I have to bring this up.
Sure.
When I can't remember what it was, but we found out that people would buy these bags, Hermes, they'd
Right.
buy Coach, they buy for status,
Right.
status symbol.
Right.
I have this, it means I'm doing well, and so on and so forth. And the poor person who ran to Chinatown would go down into a dark hole, all right, could get busted by the police, came out with their knockoff, okay, and was happy, maybe feeling, well, it looks like it, but it's not really it, but I'm going to pass. When you're running in the street, nobody's going to notice if you got stains, if it's real, if it's not, that you just, hey. Then we found out that all the bags were made in China. Do you know how those people who went down that hole in the cabin in the darkness, risking getting busted by the police for knockoffs, must have felt? See. So I just had to I thought that was so funny,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but
and that's what sells. People want those status symbols, and yes, it makes sense in some ways. But does that mean anything? Does that mean you've made it in life, right? So your life, appreciate your life, and I just want to share this that Buddhism teaches that everyone possesses limitless, distinct potential. External comparison causes you to lose sight of your own path and your unique flower of happiness. Instead of measuring yourself against peers, compete with your own past. It's not about comparing yourself to others, but how you compare to where you were yesterday. Even if you achieved one little step, then you have achieved something really great. And there's a concept, Obai Tori, which is Japanese for like peach, plum, cherry blossom.
And damson.
Imagine if everybody was the same. Imagine if every flower in the garden was the same. It all looked alike. Imagine everybody was like 100 pounds, looking like this, and the same whatever. What a boring world that would be. You need the uniqueness. That's what makes life so beautiful.
Yes.
And the people who have achieved a lot in life, the people who are really known, it wasn't because they were necessarily beautiful at all.
True.
It wasn't because they had a lot of money at all. It was because they had the real appreciation for their life and the lives of others and cared
Yes.
about others. Those are the people. Those are the mentors we really need to look up to. And especially young people really need those mentors.
And you know something they said? Find yourself a mentor, maybe 2 or 3 mentors. And when we're young, we want to model ourselves off of somebody
Right.
who is doing something that we admire, but we have to also figure out, is this a good person to mentor myself, follow their
Not
footsteps.
like a superficial,
Right.
just looking at the superficial
Right,
aspect.
right.
For sure. Yeah. And when I ask students that, do they have a mentor? They don't. They really don't. You know, our mentor is Daisaku
Daisaku
Ikeda.
Ikeda.
And not that we worship him. No, never worship another human being. That's like weird, you know, worship the dignity of life itself. But here's a man who accomplished like 100 lifetimes in a single lifetime. So to be able to know that the
Yeah.
capacity of human beings is so limitless, our potential is so limitless. And what maybe you don't have right now, tomorrow
Could be the day that you do.
totally transform, right? So you're never hitting a dead end as long as you're alive. You never hit a dead
And
end.
another thing, it's all right to be average. It's all right, you know.
Whatever that is, I
Yeah,
don't
you
even know
know
what
that.
average means.
Well, you know it. You just have to grow a certain amount.
Right.
Just it could be 10%, it could be 20%. That depends on you. You'll be the judge of that. But it's all right to be yourself, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You'll find out exactly where you need to be and what you need to do, and you'll be fine.
You know, when you ask people, especially young people, you ask them what their dreams are. Most of them don't have dreams necessarily. But one young woman, her name is Amelia, and Amelia, shout out to you because you really touched my life so much. I asked her what her dream was, and she said to live like a meaningful life, you know. And I started thinking, what does that mean to live a meaningful life? And most people who have achieved all the success in the world, or whatever you want to say, at the end of their life, they say, you know, I'm so proud that I was able to have this family, or I was able to encourage this person or that. They don't talk about all this and that they've accomplished. They talk about the feeling that they've had and the relationships they've had. That's what really makes a valuable life.
You know, at certain times, I do journaling, and I would, when I was feeling a little bit down or this, that, and the other, I'd say, okay, I'd write down, okay, what's the good things about my life? Okay, my family may have been crazy in a lot of different ways, but I had people who supported me, you know, in certain ways, you know. Then, you know, I found the religion perfect for my life. I was able to go to school. So I write down all my accomplishments, you know, so that regardless of what was going on around me, I could see, well, you did this and you did this and you did this and you did this, and these are all good things,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So,
and you know, sometimes, you know, a person who feels like they're not doing much, you know, and I've felt that way so much because I've always wanted to do so much. But, you know, somebody said to me, wow, you know, you've written a book, you know, you published a book, you have a podcast, you have 2 restaurants. And sometimes I think, well, okay, but now what? But now what? And that's kind of like stupid.
what's the
Like,
next thing?
What's the next thing? But I mean, which is a good thing, you know, you always want to keep on growing, but to really do appreciate those, and sometimes your success, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be, you know, a relationship with another human being, or going to school, passing a class that you didn't think you'd be able to pass, but just celebrate, you know? So, yeah.
guess-
So
I
with
guess-
that, I think that's it. And what we're doing next week, don't forget we publish on Wednesday on all platforms, including the YouTube and the Substack and the Spotify and the TikTok and Instagram and everywhere. And next time we're going to be talking about youth. Youth are the future. And anybody who is not thinking about youth, sorry, the older people in the world, focus on the youth, because they got it. No matter what they're going through, no matter what their difficulties, youth are the future, and that's where we need to focus ourselves.
This is your time, young people. This
Yes.
is your time.
Yeah.
And we'll explain how that comes about.
Next Wednesday. So
Okay.
we are, don't forget, we are
Don't Mess with the Mamas.
MOMMAS.
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
And leave a comment on TikTok. We would love to get your perspective and your feedback. And you had a question about how the ancient brain, something about the ancient brain, how it's affected you, I think.
I can't remember exactly.
I think, yeah.
I thought I had a question, but if I remember it, I'll bring it up at the next
But I
time.
think you wanted to ask about, you know, how this
Oh.
ancient brain of yours still affects you today.
Okay, well, Can you tell us about how you compare yourself and your changes, and if this has helped you in any way?
Yep, that would be great. Yeah, so
We love
for
Tom.
now, yes, we'll see you and bye.
Bye.
And you are precious, you are wonderful. Please, please take good care of your precious self. You were born at this particular time in the world because you have a mission only you can
Can
fulfill.
fulfill.
Okay,
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye.